Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel many times before. Now, these guys are a very well established brewery, a very recognisable name within the Japanese craft beer scene. I've had many different beers from them over the years, quite a few different styles, and I think it is most definitely fair to say that this brewery is very solid all round. Now, the beer we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've had from them quite a few times before. It's one that I know they can do very, very well, but this one is a little bit different compared to the others we've had in that style category before. So, needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head a little bit to the kind of northeastish of me here in Osaka up to Ise in Mie Prefecture, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Ise Kadoya brewery. So this particular beer is called Norwegian no Hayashi, or Norwegian Forest if you want to put it into English. It comes in at 8% ABV, and this one is a New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. It's been brewed with a Kvike yeast, hence the name, and the cat on this one apparently is to symbolise the boss man's cat, who he loves deeply, of course. So yeah, this is yet another beer that I picked up at the wonderful liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Emaichi here in Osaka. Lovely little beer shop run by Koji and his daughter Rika, who does most of it nowadays because Koji's getting that bit older. But yeah, they've always got a great selection of Japanese stuff, and I always go up there every time I'm in Japan to get a couple of beers, and this is one of Ise Kadoya's latest releases from what I understand. We reviewed a couple of IPAs from these guys the last time I was in Japan as well. But yeah, Norway no Hayashi, and 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double Kvike yeast IPA. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Ise Kadoya Brewery before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there if you want to see more reviews. Do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Japanese playlist along with a number of other things, and that is being added to very regularly, of course, because I do come over to Japan to see my son very often. And we get quite a few Japanese beers in Hong Kong these days, which is great. But yeah, do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Ise Kadoya Brewery once again. So, Ise Kadoya Brewery are from the city of Ise in Mie Prefecture in the Kansai region of Japan, and this city is dubbed the holy city of the Shinto religion. It's home to over 200 Shinto shrines, notably the Ise Grand Shrine, which I do recommend that you visit. The Shinto religion is basically all about kind of respecting nature, taking wisdom from your elders and things like this. So in places that are very naturally beautiful, you will find a lot of Shinto shrines to the various different kami, the gods. But the city apparently gets 5 million visitors per year, on the basis of the fact that it is the Shinto holy city, but it's actually a relatively small town of only 130,000 people. So, to the brewery itself, the brewery was founded back in 1997, so they're one of the more old school Japanese craft breweries, but the company is owned by Narihiro Suzuki, who had previously studied microbiology at Tohoku University. So he runs the company today with his wife Chika Suzuki, who does a lot of work in the company's restaurants and things like that, but the roots of the Suzuki family business actually go back to the year 1575, and that's when the family started the Kadoya Cafe with the aim of selling the Kinako Mochi tea to the Ise pilgrims, and Narihiro is the 21st generation of his family to run this company. So these guys are actually one of the oldest companies both in Japan and the world, actually, or one of the oldest continuously running companies, I guess we could say. But the full name of the company is now Nikken Jayamochi Kadoya Honten, and apparently, as I say, this is one of the longest running companies in Japan, and in the early day the company actually struggled when the Jibiru boom of the early 90s or mid 90s fell flat, and Narihiro took a gamble and produced what were known as Shinto beers as a sort of souvenir for the pilgrims, and it was this that kept the brewing side of the business afloat through the difficult times, and only in about 2010 did the Ise Kadoya beers actually start to perform better than the Shinto beers. But the brewmaster at Ise Kadoya is Masakazu Nakanishi, who joined the company in 1997, having worked an office job for quite a few years. He'd studied fermentation in high school during his agricultural classes, and the brewery apparently were looking for a brewer at the time that his work contract finished, so it was just the perfect fit, it was just lucky. But he later became brewmaster in 1999, and another instrumental man in the brewery is Yoshihiro Matsuoka, who is the restaurant manager and also was the original label designer as well. And he was known affectionately as the walking beer dictionary because, you know, he just knew a ridiculous amount about different kinds of beer. But the brewery, of course, import various hops and malts from across the world. They use water from the local Miyagawa River, which is filtered through charcoal filters, and, you know, this is a big thing about Japanese brewing. They're always very proud of their water source. Again, the influence of the Shinto religion there. But they're apparently very thorough in their quality control. They've won many awards for their beers to date. They're one of the most decorated craft breweries in Japan, and of course that's partly due to their age as well. But the brewery have a number of restaurants, notably Biyagura, which is the on-site restaurant at the brewery, and they've also got the Ise Kadoya Kaukumaeten, and I think that's the one that's very close to the Ise Grand Shrine actually, so I need to go there and do an out and about video with my friend Jordan, of course, who lives very close there. But these guys have got a core range of beers, various seasonal beers, and they produce cider, soy sauce, tamari, miso paste, and also the Kanako Mochi tea. You can find these all across Japan. But in 2018, they opened up their new brewery, which has given them the capacity to brew around 650,000 litres of beer per year. More recently, they've also created a kind of newer core range that has been canned, and those are going out to various supermarkets across Japan, including the various Aeon supermarkets that you'll find. So they're available in many bigger outlets these days, but they still have their smaller batch experimental stuff, such as this. But as of October 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced about 520 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, one of the really old school names when it comes to the Japanese craft beer scene. They do some great stuff, and I always enjoy trying some of the new beers from these guys whenever I get the chance. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Ise Kadoya Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. Pardon me, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and have a little look at the beer itself. So like I said to you earlier, this beer I think is named as a tribute to the Ise Kadoya bossman's cat. So I guess it's Narihiro's cat, but it's been brewed with a Norwegian Kveik yeast. So they're calling this one Norwegian Norwegian Opaque Double IPA. It doesn't say what hops are in this one, of course, but we do know that it's 8% ABV. There you can see the Ise Kadoya Brewing bottle cap on this one, which looks very nice, of course. But yeah, this is it 350 milliliters, this one? I can't see it listed anywhere. 330 milliliter bottle, actually. I always thought these were a bit bigger. But yeah, 330 milliliter bottle, this one. I think this cost me about 900 yen, maybe 1,000 yen, something like that. So these days that's about, it's about £5.50 sterling, about €6, $6.50 American, something like that. So yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass then and see how we go. This beer is fairly fresh. We'll just give it a little tip because we do want the sediment out of these ones. But let's get it out into the glass and see what we have here. Looking forward to this one. Always nice to review something new from Ise Kadoya. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Kveik yeast from Norway is quite an interesting one. It's become quite popular with New England hazy brewers because it gives you this lovely kind of soft bready kind of character to it, but also quite a lot of fruitiness. And of course these were used in the old Norwegian farmhouse yeast. I think Voss was a little bit of a centre of old school brewing in Norway, so you get a lot of Voss Kveik yeasts. But yeah, you can see this beer's poured pretty much as you would expect from a hazy IPA. So before the head disappears, you can see that this one poured with about a half finger of, I would say, a kind of bubbly white head there. So medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, a few kind of more soapy ones the further up that you go. But it looks very, very nice, this one. You can see it's that head is just starting to fade away to be a kind of thinner foamy layer, but you've got that nice thicker ring around the edge of the glass there. But colour-wise, this one's quite interesting. It looks a little bit like a kind of mixed tropical fruit juice. I always like comparing the appearance of New England IPAs to different fruit juices, because that's really just what they remind me of. But this one looks like a mix of a kind of mango and pineapple juice or something like that. So quite a nice kind of medium bright yellow colour, I guess we could say. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar is caramelised, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of IPAs, in all honesty. So yeah, this one, I have to say, does look very, very nice. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation, but I will say that it looks a little bit more soupy and gloopy. I think that might well be the soupiest and gloopiest New England IPA that I've come across from Ise Kadoya yet, which is quite an interesting thing to say. So yeah, the level of haze in these beers depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and even beer to beer, of course. But yeah, that gives you a rough idea. But this one, I have to say, does look pretty damn soupy and gloopy, even more so than the Neko Nihiki, which is probably the most famous, or the most regular New England Double IPA that they do, in fact. So yeah, I think we've said everything we really need to about the appearance of this beer. Let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma then. I'm very, very curious about this. That's interesting. It has got a little bit more of a kind of citrusy note in the top of the nose. You'll feel that little bit of, is sharpness the right word? I don't know. But yeah, it has got a wee bit more of a kind of sharpness and stuff to it in the top of the nose there. But when you take in the aroma a bit more deeply, you start to get the kind of bready elements and things that you would expect of the style. So yeah, the artwork on this one is, I'm saying not the artwork, I'm looking at my son's artwork in the back of the camera there. Oh dear, that's how tired my brain is. That's what happens when you're parenting. But yeah, the aroma in this one, not the artwork, is quite interesting for sure. So the backbone of this beer, I'd say I'm getting a lot of kind of wheaty character out of this one, and I'm also getting a lot of the kind of bready notes. As I've said in many videos before, for me there are 6 ways a New England IPA can sort of lean when we're talking about the malty and yeasty side of things. So you've got your kind of farmhousey yeasty character, which obviously in a Kveik IPA is quite important. You've got the rye leaning grainy side of things as well, which is a bit more common in the New England brewed New England IPAs. But of course, as the style has gained popularity and moved away from New England, you're more looking at wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things. For me, this is quite a wheaty, yeasty, and kind of barley malt leaning New England Double IPA. That's really what I'm getting out of this one. So the backbone of the beer, you've got a lovely little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust that pops out of it, which is great. I do really like how that goes together. So yeah, lovely little bit of that white bready bread crust for sure. On top of that, there's a little bit of woodiness and a little bit of cracker, as you very often get with these kind of beers. And I would say, yeah, oh sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Am I? No, I think I'm okay. But yeah, there's a little bit of crackery note in there. You've got some lovely kind of white bready notes in there too. There's a little bit of sweet, actually, above the cracker. You've got a little bit of a kind of sweet brown bready character. Then they've got the drier white bready notes, I would say. Lovely smooth kind of wheaty character in there as well. Yeah, lovely big kind of smooth thick wheaty character in there. At the back of the nose there's a bit more of the wheaty bitiness actually. You can smell some of the oaty note in this beer as well, and the oats are actually a little bit drier, which is kind of interesting because usually when it comes to hazy IPAs, the oats can be a rough indicator of how fresh your beer is. Essentially, the creamier the oats smell and taste, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older the beer is. With this one, you're getting a little bit of creaminess out of it. It's almost a little bit porridgey, which makes me think it's probably American oats rather than European oats. But yeah, you're getting a little bit of that kind of porridgey character to it, but also a little bit of dryness. So that's quite interesting too. I'd also say that this beer isn't overly sweet either. It's not got too much of that kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing coming out of it. But there's a wee bit of that for sure. So yeah, a little bit of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch. A little bit of biscuit in there as well. It does give you a wee touch of sweetness, but not overly much. But I think that's everything we can really say about the malty side of things. The yeasty side of the beer at the back of the nose. Of course, as you always get with these Kveik yeasts, you've got a little bit of a more kind of fruity, citricy character to it almost. But yeah, it's kind of like drier white bread, a little bit of cracker, a little bit of woodiness and stuff like this. So yeah, you can smell all of that in the back of your nose. So I think that really is very, very nice. Yeah, so aroma wise, I think this beer goes together really, really well. Yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really very nice. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker, as I say, at the back of the nose, white bready notes, but then yeah, it's all about the kind of hoppy side of things. So yeah, let's have a wee look at that kind of hoppy side of the beer. So as I've often said, when it comes to IPAs, there are three types of hoppings to think about. You have your early edition hopping, which usually takes place within the first hour of the water boil. That's responsible for the majority of your bitterness, and it's going to give you a very deep, dank flavour and aroma. You've got your late edition hopping, which takes place in the latter half hour of the water boil. That gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and that's going to contribute mostly it's going to contribute mostly a kind of bright green component, if you like. But then you've got your dry hopping, which takes place after the water boil is complete. That's all about flavour and aroma, and again, it's going to contribute a very bright green component. So yeah, the green component in this beer, there's a little touch of earthiness to it. There's a little touch of earthiness to it. There's a wee bit of woodiness, but yeah, you've got that nice big kind of floral aromaticity. Yeah, nice big floral aromaticity there. You've got a good little bit of grassiness to it as well, like a nice big sort of zesty character. So yeah, I think the way that goes together, the green component in this one is very, very nice. So yeah, I like the way that appears. So yeah, the green component in this one, I think, is almost quite wet as well, which sort of suits what's going on with the Kveik yeast. So yeah, it's really interesting, that one. Fruity side of things with this beer, it's quite nice actually. I'm curious as to what hops they've used in this actually, because you've got a nice soft tropical note to it, but you do have a little bit more of a kind of citrusy note. So it's a little bit hard to distinguish what's coming from the yeast and what's coming from the hops in a way, but I think mostly the soft tropical notes are coming from the hops. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, Simcoe, Idaho 7, Galaxy, Victoria's Secret, something like that going on in here. Because you certainly do, there's a little bit of peach, there's a lovely juicy mango, there's passion fruit in there, there's a wee bit of apricot and pineapple and stuff. Yeah, the way that all of that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. So, yeah, all in all, aroma-wise, I think this beer is very, very nice. So yeah, lots of soft tropical fruits, stone fruit, I think, on the fruity side of it too. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I do think it is about time that we try this one now and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Norwegian no Hayashi in Japanese, or the Norwegian Forest if you want to translate the name into English. An 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double Kvike Yeast IPA from the wonderful Ise Kadoya in Ise Mie Prefecture here in Japan. Big shout out, of course, to my good friend Jordan, Jordan Inside Outsider in Japan, if I'm remembering the name of the channel right. But yeah, go and check out his videos if you're interested in seeing what the Ise area actually looks like. So yeah, let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers, kampai. Ooh, that's very nice. Yeah, very soft, very clean, and really juicy. New England IPA, this one. It shows you quite a little bit of dryness into the impact, like into the aftertaste as well. This is a lovely, lovely beer actually. It's a big thumbs up from me. It's really, really nice. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, where to start with this one then? Yeah, it is a slightly drier New England one. This, which, you know, to be fair, you do expect that of a Kvike IPA, but yeah, it's really, really nicely done, this one. It's quite cool to see something a bit different within a style category that I know Ise Kadoya can do very, very well. So they can certainly not let themselves down here with this one. I can safely say that. But let's just break down the beer and describe it that little bit more in depth for you, as we always do. So middle third of your palate then. The backbone of the beer is that fresh, white bready bread crust, and as I say, I think that goes together really, really nicely. So as you move further forward on that middle third of your tongue, you start to get that wee bit of woody character coming out of this one. So yeah, you get that nice little bit of woody character there, and then above the bread crust you start to get the kind of Jacob's cream cracker. So above the Jacob's cream cracker, there's some really nice sort of wholemeal, brown bready sort of notes to beer. So yeah, Jacob's cream cracker, wholemeal brown bread. It's a little bit more dense, I would say. So you've got that little bit of a more dense wholemeal brown bread. Then you've got the fluffier and lighter, more airy white bread. Actually, it's got a little bit of a kind of crackery type quality to it as well, which I do really like. Then above that, you can feel a little bit of a layer of wheat. So it's a little bit of a more bitey wheat actually, which is kind of interesting. But as I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out a wee bit further back. So yeah, further back on the palate, there's a wee bit more of that wheaty bite, and yeah, as you come further forward, it shows you a bit more of a smoothness and a kind of dryness. So yeah, the way that goes together is quite nice as well. Yeah, I like that. But then the oaty character isn't actually so like madly present in the flavour. If you go down the middle, you can feel above the wheaty character though, that more dense white bready note. If you go down the middle line of your tongue, you do have a little bit of a kind of oaty creaminess to this one, which is quite interesting. So there's that little bit of oaty creamy character there. It's almost a little bit porridgey. Like I say, I think American oats in this beer. But then as you move out toward the edges of your palate, it definitely becomes a little bit more sort of creamy, I would say, as well. So yeah, the yeah, I think that little bit of, you get a little bit of that drier oaty character as you go out toward the edge of the palate. There's a little touch of sweetness in the dead centre of your tongue with this one, that little circle there where you get the wee bit of like Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. And then yeah, you've got a wee bit of biscuit that kind of surrounds that as well. So yeah, you have got a little touch of sweetness, and that's the boozy side of the beer, of course, coming out in this one. But I think that covers the middle third of your palate with this beer quite nicely. Let's go to the back third of your palate then. As I've often said, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but just different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that little bit of bready build-up in there. You've got the nice kind of brown bready character in the base. You've got the little bit of more kind of white bready character sitting above that, then a more dense, wheaty kind of white bready character sitting above that. But yeah, the base of that, back third of your palate, you can feel the kind of bread crusty character. Then you've got the cracker. You can feel the brown bready layer above that, which is a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy, but again a wee bit drier. Then you have the white bready layer again, which you can feel above that, which is a little bit lighter, taller, airier, more dry. Then yeah, you can feel the more dense and dry, bitey, wheaty, white bready character coming out with this one. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice in this one. So yeah, fruity side of this beer as well is really nice. Again, the fruitiness is just lingering there. But let's have a wee quick look at the yeastiness. So the yeastiness sits on top of that. The yeastiness sits on top of everything on that back third of the palate. So at its core, you've got a slightly more dense and sweet, kind of brown bready character. So yeah, dense, sweet, brown bready character there. Around the edge, it's got a little bit more of a kind of drier white bready sort of character to it, and yeah, the very edge of it, it's a little bit more bread crusty, but you can feel little elements of kind of wood and cracker and stuff leading throughout that actually. So yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in this one is really quite interesting. Actually, the yeasty character there lingers into the aftertaste too, and that is of course one of the whole points of the whole point of a Kveik IPA. So yeah, definitely back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah. On the hoppy side of things then, green component, back corners of the palate, you've got some really nice kind of brown bready some really nice earthy character in there, which builds a good bridge with the brown bready side of things. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of woodiness to it, but yeah, very quickly as you push further and further forward, it's got a lot of nice kind of floral aromaticity to the beer. I think this is pellets that's been used in here because it feels very fresh actually, this beer. So I think it's T40 pellets that have been used in this one. You can just kind of taste that difference there, that little bit of leafiness. But then yeah, around the front curve of the tongue, the beer is lighter and grassy and more, a little touch zesty actually, which is quite interesting. So yeah, the way that goes together is pretty nice as well. But let's focus on the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of the beer, just to round off the tasting section. So yeah, border region between middle and front third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up again, the brown bread in the base, the white bread in the middle, and the more dense, bitey, wheaty white bread on the top. The base of that front third of your palate has a bit more of a kind of brown bready bread crust again. You've got the Jacob's cream cracker, the brown bread, the white bread, and the more dense and smooth wheaty type note out of the beer. Then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity ester just starts to roll its way out of the beer. So yeah, I like the way that fruity side of things goes together in this one. Like I say, the beer does have this little bit of citricy character kind of sitting in the top of it. But yeah, the fruity side of things is quite interesting. So at the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of a stronger grapefruit. I am wondering if there's Galaxy in this. It feels like Galaxy. It could be Citra as well, but I'm more inclined to say Galaxy. But yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, there is a little bit of grapefruit. As you move further forward, there's a little bit of that sharper peach, big juicy mango. You know, there's maybe, I don't get so much passion fruit out of this one actually, but yeah, as you move further forward, there's maybe a little bit of that kind of apricot note there, a wee bit of pineapple. But yeah, in the front half of that front third of your tongue, it's actually almost quite lemony, I would say. So Centennial would be the one that would give you that. Yeah, a bit of the pineapple and a bit of the lemon in the front half of that front third of your tongue. The way that that goes together, I think, is really very nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I like that about this one. Fruity side of it is good, and I think that kind of sharper lemony note that the beer has into the aftertaste kind of matches well with the fruitiness you're getting from the Kveik yeast. So a really well done Kveik IPA, this one, and it has that lovely kind of cleanliness and drinkability that you very often find in Japanese craft beer. So I think on this note we should move on and round off the review with a look at the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer, it's pushing top end of mid-bodied. The carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it. Like I said, it's quite a clean New England IPA, this one. Like, it doesn't feel so creamy, if you like, and it's got a bit of dryness into the aftertaste too. The IBU in this, I wouldn't be surprised if this is maybe 40 or 50 IBU, but I think it could be because of how fresh it is. Maybe if you let it mellow out a little bit more, you might get a little bit less. But I'm feeling I think it's pretty fresh, and it's giving you quite a bit of IBU, maybe 40 or 50. I would say, and the green component of this one is quite prominent. But the malt base, like we said, it's got the kind of dryness underneath, the smoothness in the middle, and then it's kind of slight dry sweetness on top, and the yeasty characters add into that dryness in the middle of the palate too. But then yeah, the fruity side of this one, quite citrusy leaning, I would say, the grapefruit and the lemony notes, and also the yeasty character in there. But you do have a little element of kind of softer, juicy, tropical fruit to this beer as well. But all in all, a really nice New England double Kveik IPA, this one, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, cool to see Ise Kadoya do something slightly different within a style category that I know they can do very well. So yeah, pardon me, as I always say, just take a bit of time to enjoy your Ise Kadoya beers, and this is what's pretty cool. These guys produce some quite regular core range beers now, but they're still doing the experimental stuff like this, which is great to see. They haven't lost that experimental nature that won them a lot of fans, which I'm very happy about. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Norwegian Hayashi, Norwegian Forest in English, and 8% New England Hazy Kveik Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA, that turned out very nicely. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Ise Kadoya Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. And I do plan on doing an out and about video with my good friend Jordan from The Outsider Inside Japan. Make sure you check out his channel. But until the next time, Slanja, Skål, cheers, Kampai, and I'll see you guys in another review very shortly. Ciao just now.